Hello there yo, Davey Meister here and welcome to our very first video. This channel will be renovated into a fictional discussion channel with some elements of gaming in the future. But today, we're diving into the world of fairy tale to come up with some cool power-up ideas for one of its most iconic characters, Erza Scarlet. But as I was brainstorming new ideas for her, I realized something. That Hiro Mashima's world building actually left some parts of Erza's abilities completely unexplored. And because of that, there's a ton of untapped potential in her kit that could have made her abilities even more interesting. So today, we're going to take a closer look at these undeveloped aspects of Mashima's world and imagine some new power-up ideas for the Titania herself. Now I know what some of you might be thinking. Erza? Untapped potential? She's one of the strongest members of Fairy Tail, part of the monster trio, and has an entire arc of character development. What do you mean she has untapped potential? And you're right, when it comes to her character, she's incredibly well written, one of the most iconic female combatants in all of anime. She's also tied with Natsu as my favorite character in the series. But what I'm talking about isn't her story, it's her abilities. Her equip magic has so much potential that was never fully explored. I have always loved characters like Erza, what I like to call arsenal summoners. These are characters whose entire gimmick is having a weapon, armor, or gadget for every possible situation. Think Gilgamesh and Shiro from Fate Stay Night, or Tenten and Sasori from Naruto, or Kite from Hunter x Hunter, Sinbad from Magi, or even Iron Man, Doctor Doom, and Lex Luthor from Marvel and DC. Whether it's through inventions or magical summoning, these characters are incredibly fun to watch because their abilities are so versatile. Every fight brings something new. That's what makes Erza such a treat. She never fights the same way twice. One enemy might face her Flame Emperor armor, another might face her Adamantine armor, or even the Nakagami armor. She adapts on the fly, and it's always exciting to see what she pulls out next. But here's the thing, Mashima never really delved deeper into the mechanics of Erza's requip magic. So let's start with the very first undeveloped aspect. You see, Erza's ability isn't just about swapping armor. It's a spatial magic that stores all her gear inside a pocket dimension. That, in and of itself, opens a lot of world-building questions. Like, what else can this pocket dimension do? If Erza can store, summon, and swap equipment, could she also use that space with organic matter? Imagine if she could teleport herself or others into her pocket dimension as a defensive move, a dimensional shield that lets her evade even the most unavoidable attacks. Or maybe she could pull her opponent into her dimension and manipulate it like a personal battlefield, something akin to a reality marble or a domain expansion. She could even achieve teleportation in combat by teleporting in and out of her dimension into different locations, similar to how Nightcrawler's teleportation works in Marvel Comics. And here's another question. How are her weapons repaired? Does she send them to a magic blacksmith? Or does a pocket dimension automatically restore them? Fans have extrapolated that it has to be the former, as the series has not shown or stated that her dimension reverses damage on items. However, because we do see broken armor in one arc emerge perfectly intact in later arcs, it can be naturally deduced that Erza gets the armors repaired off screen. The reason for that question being brought up is because I thought that a cool power-up idea would be if she can do more than just store items in this dimension. That she can not only store things inside, but that she can alter the flow of time in that dimension. reversing time on broken items to repair them, or perhaps even halting time so that she can send injured comrades into her dimension and they won't die because time is currently stopped in that dimension. But even if a pocket dimension cannot reverse damages on objects, I do wonder whether time even flows in that pocket dimension. If time doesn't flow, then that means that objects are stuck in a constant stasis. So, if I were to put a hot cup of coffee in this dimension, it will continue to stay hot even if I bring it out like 5 hours later. This way, if I were to place an injured comrade into this dimension, then they won't bleed out and die, and I can bring them out later, still intact, for the doctors to tend to them. In other words, instead of Erza's power-up after the time skip simply being badass armor number 105, Mashima could have utilized this unexplored part of Erza's abilities to come up with broken and cool new applications for Erza Scarlet. And when I say broken, I mean it. Imagine if she could send her opponents to her pocket dimension, where she can manipulate the time and space so her opponent is helpless. The only person who could move in that dimension would be Erza herself, and she could just deal a fatal blow or maybe a finishing blow if she doesn't want to kill them. As you can see, just with a deeper exploration of Erza's abilities, she has already acquired a domain expansion-like ability which still fits within the range of her power sets. This is another unexplored area of her ability. Many questions arise as to what else she can do with her telekinetic abilities. For example, other than her swords, can she utilize telekinesis on other kinds of weapons or non-weapon objects? Similar to Dist from the Phoenix Priestess movie, can she throw objects and people around as well? Or does her magic limit this telekinesis to any sword or weapon themed objects? Because either way, telekinesis still has so many insane uses. Does anyone remember Harlequin from the Seven Deadly Sins and how he uses his powerful spell Chastafol? Imagine how fast and dangerous that spell was, and imagine that while Erza is dodging and pushing her way through the battlefield, she also keeps her opponents on their toes by telekinetically aiming weapons at them mid-combat exchange. Like, while parrying her opponent, her blade or spear comes from the enemy's blind spot or unexpected angle and impales them. Are you guys seeing what I'm seeing right now? Now, if the telekinesis wasn't limited to just weapons, Erza becomes so much more dangerous in the battlefield. Imagine her boosting her speed and power of her sword strikes with telekinesis, or her subtly adjusting her opponent with telekinesis to be at reach of her blade. Think of how Pain from Naruto uses his almighty pull to pull his opponents towards him and then stabs them with his rod. Now imagine Erza using telekinesis to pull her opponents towards her so that they can be within reach of her blade. I think you guys can get the picture of just how insane and versatile Requip can get. Mashima can come up with the most versatile and creative techniques, but for some reason, he never takes such abilities to their most natural conclusion. All these power-up ideas are not even a huge stretch. She should be able to do this based on her ability description. Another unexplored angle of Erza Scarlet is where does she even get her armors and who fixes them? While we do see lots of magic tools sprinkled around different arcs and stories in this series, who forges these armors and weapons? Both for Erza and for Dan or Mystigan or anybody else. Are there blacksmiths or enchanters in the world who specialize in them? And if so, how are such powerful weapons regulated? The fact that we have barely met a magic item blacksmith or creator shows you how underdeveloped this aspect of fairy tale story is. Because remember, it is this skillful use of these very powerful armors and her ability to combine them for different scenarios, on top of her magic power, that takes her to the level of an S-class mage. If her armors can boost her speed to sonic levels, fire photons, or even cut through Minerva's space manipulation magic, why doesn't the Magic Council arm its own forces with similar tools and armor? Why is there seemingly only one existing copy of Erza's armory? Do you know how many characters in the story would benefit from certain of Erza's armors and weapons? Who is skilled enough to forge all these powerful armors and weapons while remaining unknown and inconspicuous? The show tells us and shows us that magical tools are an everyday part of this world. Yet, Erza's magic armors and swords appears to be a cut above the rest of the magic items. So who on earth is making these things, since Erza is not creating them with her magic? While Mashima likely wanted Erza's abilities to be unique from a meta perspective, which is why nobody else has these armors, it still narratively raises huge world-building questions. Now, after perceiving online discussions, I observed that a lot of people conclude that it narratively makes sense that Erza should stay human due to what she represents and due to the redundancy of having yet another dragon character in the list of casts, when we already have the 7 dragon slayers, and honestly, I agree with them. Although, I do wish that even if she doesn't turn into a dragon, or have any dragon-based powers, that at least being in Irene's womb during her dragonification would at least give her some unique ability while she still stays human. An ability that at least says, this is what happens when a baby is left in the mother undergoing a dragon transformation. Like for example, if she gained the Dragon Slayer enchantment ability, where she learns to be able to enchant any of her weapons or armor with the ability to harm dragons. Now, I know that this will be getting into Wendy's territory, and Wendy having enchantment or being the spiritual successor to Irene is honestly a cool character development for her. So I would differentiate the two by making it so that Erza cannot do any other kind of enchantment, only the dragon slaying one. Wendy can do that and every other kind of buff or enchantment, while Erza can only do one. That can be the main difference between them. Speaking of Wendy, Erza can acquire more power-ups if she can get Wendy to do the following. We've already seen Wendy help Erza enchant her weapons to harm dragons. And even the Dragon Cry movie shows her using celestial armor imbued with Jalal's Grand Chariot spell. So imagine if she got Freed or Wendy to add runes and enchantments to each of her armors or weapons. She could use Freed's rune magic to add special conditions to her blades, like causing persistent bleeding, paralysis, or even magical poisoning. Akame's swords, anyone? And you can even combine that with Wendy's enchantments, and now you've got an unstoppable combo. Like for a show that talks a lot about the power of friendship, there are quite a lot of characters that can become absolute monsters if they simply taught each other a bit of their own skills. There are so many cool magical combos that could be made utilizing that friendship aspect. Then to take this power up even further, imagine Erza grafting Fairy Law, Fairy Glitter, or Fairy Sphere onto her Armadura Fairy armor, creating a personalized, scaled-down version of those legendary spells. Now, while this one may sound a bit far-fetched, don't forget that Laxus learned Fairy Law, and even Erza herself learned Jalal's Grand Chariot. In other words, while the power system allows everyone to have their own unique magic type, there are still magic spells that anyone can learn regardless of their own attributes. Or maybe she could even imbue anti-magic properties onto her sword, similar to Byro's nullification magic. The result? A terrifying, multi-dimensional powerhouse who embodies both offense and defense. Erza Scarlet already stands as one of the strongest and most beloved characters in Fairy Tail, but with just a bit more exploration into her equipped magic, she could have reached god-tier levels of versatility, while also having the added benefit of building up the world of magic items and blacksmiths. That's exactly why I believe Erza Scarlet's abilities have some of the most underutilized potential in all of Fairy Tail. This is what I would have liked Erza to do during the time skip. Rather than just getting new armors and abilities, I would have liked her to explore development in relation to her spatial abilities. One of my biggest issues with how Fairy Tail characters are handled is that Mashima, for some reason, never wants to give characters power-ups that are the most natural conclusions. What do I mean by this? I will tackle this in a future video, so just stay tuned. Anyways, what do you guys think? Do you like these power-up ideas? Are they consistent with who she is as a character? Are there some other cool power-up ideas that she could have acquired? Please don't hesitate to leave a comment below if you also have cool ideas that relate most to her ability. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Peace.